Humanitarian crises across the globe are now affecting people on a larger scale and are lasting longer than ever before. Due to the ongoing violence driven by internal conflict in developing countries, 16.2 million people were displaced in 2017, and around 44,000 people have been constrained to leave their homes every day. Natural disasters added more misery and forced 18.8 million people to get displaced. Under these circumstances, an estimated 1 in 5 women refugees has experienced sexual violence. It raises the need for awareness regarding reproductive health among women in high-risk conflict countries. So in order to build and strengthen the response capacity for the humanitarian crisis and scale up the delivery of life-saving and essential sexual reproductive health (SRH) services, the International Planned Parenthood Federation (IPPF) partnered with the Rahnuma Family Planning Association of Pakistan on the Project Humanitarian Capacity Development Center (HCDC) conducted in the selected high-risk countries including Burundi, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, Sudan, Yemen, and Maldives, with Rahnuma as a project lead and reproductive health, Uganda as the co-lead.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. As we already know that IPPF has changed its structure and approaches in a number of ways, and under the new approach, Rahnuma Family Planning Association of Pakistan applied for a project which was to be implemented in a number of countries across various regions of IPPF, which is Africa region, South Asia region, and Arab region. And under this very approach, Rahnuma FPAP was selected after a very competitive process, and we have had a lot of learnings which would not have been possible under the regular approach of IPPF, whereby projects were implemented by member association. We had to adopt a number of strategies, and the basic approach that was used was to kind of learn and relearn and then strategize and modify and apply, because one straight strategy could not actually give us the kind of results that we were looking for, as humanitarian crises in all these countries varied from country to country, and we had to re-strategize accordingly.
So the Humanitarian Capacity Development Center is a relatively new initiative that IPPF has launched in partnership with member associations to build the capacity of humanitarian response and scale at the member association level. So the initiative is really to harness the expertise that sits with member associations in order to support greater capacity building across the Federation. Pakistan and Uganda have shown their capacities and expertise in operating humanitarian response in their respective contexts. And this was an opportunity for them to share those learnings, share that expertise and experiences with other partners in other parts of the world that are also responding to different types of emergencies. I think it was complex in the number and constellation of partners involved, and the variety of different types of settings which were included, and also the scope of the work, which really was comprehensive in its nature, supporting along the preparedness work, but also in response and recovery. But despite these challenges, I think it's really been a successful initiative and a great opportunity to work more closely with colleagues across the Federation. So I think there's been a number of achievements, and I'd say that the greatest achievement has been the direct technical assistance and support to the member associations, including Yemen and Sudan, the Maldives, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic, and Burundi. I guess my vision for the HCDC project would be for it to be continued to be led by member associations, and to increase the access for other member associations to be able to learn and share with each other.
6 priority countries were selected, and this was on the Inform Global Index. These countries included 3 from African countries, in which RHU took the lead for building their capacity. That included Burkina Faso, Burundi and CAR, and in African countries in other areas like Sudan, Yemen and Maldives, Rahnuma FPAP provided technical support of these countries.
As we started the implementation of project, a baseline assessment was conducted of the 6 priority MAs. Basically, the objective of this assessment was to know what is the current status regarding capacity and implementation by the MAs. And the other objective was to conduct the need assessment for their capacity building and the implementation of the project.
And managing the partnership between Reproductive Health Uganda and the MA of Pakistan in ensuring that the project gets started. Then, as again a co-host, we had responsibility of overseeing implementation of the project in the 3 countries of Burundi, Burkina and Central African Republic. So we could collaborate with the FPAP to ensure that the contractual processes are done for the project, the development of the work plans, and reporting the flow of funds would be done with the recommendation of RHU as a co-host. That is the role of the organization, but as the team lead, mine was to oversee that all is well, and I've been part and parcel of this exercise. We ensured that we have close collaboration between Reproductive Health Uganda and Pakistan. We did this through using the various channels of communication. The second one is that the implementation was guided by structured work plans which had clear activities, and these work plans were arrived at after a various series of engagements. I want to think that the capacity building interventions which were inbuilt in the project helped to build the understanding of the implementing organizations. The other one is that we are talking about a humanitarian project. So we are dealing with countries which are affected in one way or the other by humanitarian crisis. At the beginning, decision making was a little bit difficult, but during the course of the project process, we were able to address this, and the decisions started beginning to flow. But by and large, I think it has been a good journey. You can see the building blocks moving steadily. Yeah, I think what is the most crucial is that it is an initiative where the MAs are managing themselves under the peer-to-peer support, under the taking ownership. We are globally connected, but we are locally owned. I want to say that since this program was delivered within the structures of IPPF, within the MAs, that is a sustainability mechanism by itself, because the capacities that were built in the respective member associations remains. Like in RHU, the trainings on MISIP, the tools which we got under this program strengthened our humanitarian response at country level. The first phase has just come to the end when we were just beginning to start, even at a more stronger gear. That gives us a strong case to say IPPF should be looking forward to having a second phase for this HCDC.
For the project initiation, conducting as baseline assessment was necessary to understand problems faced by each member associate. With Yemen facing an extreme food crisis, Sudan going through political conflicts, Burundi, Maldives, and the Central African Republic enveloped by extreme flooding, malnutrition and refugee crisis, and Burkina Faso experiencing geopolitical instability with extreme security risks. Implementing an integrated for capacity development in each member associate was a real challenge. Despite these challenges, Rahnuma Family Planning Association, Pakistan was able to devise a successful strategy with the help of key findings from the baseline assessments and develop emergency preparedness and response plans, EP and RP, that were applicable in all 6 MAs. These plans paved the way to establishment of surge rosters, a competent team of government stakeholders, member associate team members, UN agencies, and national and international NGOs to provide quick and efficient responses in case of any emergency. Moreover, service providers in each member associate were capacitated on minimal initial service packages (MISP) for family planning and sexual reproductive health services, which included concealing on gender-based violence. Throughout the project, Rahnuma has been diligently monitoring the progress of each member associate. One of this project's major outcomes was the identification of policy and implementation gaps, which greatly helped in policy advocacy among concerned authorities. With help and support from the representatives of member associates, Rahnuma was able to achieve all its major goals in these respective countries.
One of the biggest challenges that we had to face was that COVID-19 and implementation of this very project kind of coincided with each other, and people started working from homes. Language had been a barrier in dealing with all these member associations because everybody was not using English as a medium of communication. So we had to kind of involve the regional offices concerned of IPPF, and also we had to use the local translators who were utilized just to overcome one of these challenges.
Project monitoring of the priority MAs was one of the important milestone because the monitoring was very important by the lead host just for their capacity building and to ensure that all the activities are being conducted as per work plan. Monitoring visits were conducted of MA Maldives, MA Sudan and some other MAs at in the last 2 quarters of the project. These monitoring visits were very helpful in assessing the so far status of implementation by the MAs. Now the MAs are capacitated with regard to humanitarian response. They have developed their humanitarian emergency preparedness and response plans. They have their humanitarian capacity development plans ready with them, and they have also planned how to implement these things. I think because now they are well capacitated and now they can claim themselves as the humanitarian capacity development centers. That was one of the major objective of this project. Regarding future of HCDC project, being lead of this project, my recommendation will be that this phase also went very well. but the challenges that we face during its implementation and the lessons learned and some other things. So based on all these things, my recommendation will be that at each region level we should have some of the staff members who can coordinate with all the priority MAs in that very respective region to ensure timely implementation, monitoring, as well as to coordinate with them in their local languages.
Rahnuma Family Planning Association, Pakistan was able to fully equip all member associates to serve as humanitarian capacity development centers (HCDC) in their respective countries. These member associates, in collaboration with other stakeholders, are now thoroughly prepared to implement sexual reproductive health (SRH) and life-saving services in humanitarian and refugee settlements. For future projects, Rahnuma aims to expand this project to other deserving countries in order to strengthen their capacity and capability with regards to humanitarian and emergency crisis.